When we say this food starves cancer, it might sound almost unbelievable, almost too simple. For so long, we've been conditioned to think of cancer as an invincible enemy, one that requires aggressive drugs, complex treatments, and often painful interventions. But here's the truth that gets buried beneath fear and misunderstanding. Cancer is not some unstoppable force. Cancer, at its core, is a disease of survival. It survives by feeding. It grows by hijacking the body's resources, exploiting the very systems meant to protect us. And just like any parasite, if you cut off its food supply, it begins to weaken. Now, science has shown us something profound. Certain natural compounds found in everyday foods can literally block the blood vessels that tumors need to grow. Imagine that for a moment. Cancer cells may multiply, but they cannot expand into tumors unless they can build a network of blood supply, what doctors call angiogenesis. And what shuts that process down? Not always medicine, not always some futuristic therapy, but compounds hidden in plain sight, on your plate, in your kitchen, sometimes sitting in your fridge right now. Think about what that means. It means that you are not powerless. You are not simply at the mercy of fate, or of genetics, or of family history. The choices you make, the foods you eat, the way you live, those are not small, meaningless decisions. They are levers. They are switches. They are mechanisms that can determine whether your body becomes a fertile ground for disease or a battlefield where disease cannot survive. But here's where the psychology matters. Most people live disconnected from the power of their choices. They move through life believing health is accidental, something that either happens to you or doesn't, like being struck by lightning. And so they surrender. They eat without awareness. They consume what is easy. They feed their bodies with the very things that fuel disease. And all the while, they never realize they are complicit in the very outcomes they fear. That's not judgment. That's conditioning. Society has trained us to hand over our health to chance, or to medicine, or to timing. But that conditioning is not the truth. The truth is that healing is not passive. It is participatory. Every meal you eat is an instruction manual you hand to your body. Every bite says something to your cells, either grow stronger or grow weaker, either fight back or surrender. And when you choose foods that have been shown to cut off cancer's fuel supply, foods rich in natural antioxidants, phytochemicals, immune-boosting compounds, you are literally speaking the language of life to your body. You are saying, starve the disease, strengthen the defense, preserve the miracle of this organism. Philosophically, this changes everything. It shifts you from victim to creator, from helplessness to responsibility. Responsibility is not a burden, it is freedom. Because if your choices matter, then you are not trapped. You are not condemned by your past or your family history. You are liberated by the fact that in this very moment, you can choose differently. You can choose foods that do not feed the enemy. You can choose to align yourself with what nature designed as medicine long before laboratories existed. And I want you to feel the weight of that. Imagine millions of people walking around believing cancer is inevitable, but believing there is nothing they can do, when in reality, their daily habits are quietly shaping their risk, their resilience, their destiny. Imagine if more of them knew that one simple decision, choosing a food that starves cancer instead of feeds it, could change the trajectory of their health. That's not just information, that's transformation, because when you know, you cannot unknow. Once you see the power that is in your hands, you can never go back to living blind. This is not to say food is a cure, but food is a weapon. And when combined with the body's innate intelligence, it becomes one of the most powerful weapons we have. Cancer is clever, yes. It mutates, it hides, it adapts. But it cannot survive without fuel. And if you remove the fuel, if you close the tap, the disease loses its advantage. So the question becomes, will you continue feeding the enemy, or will you begin starving it? That choice is not made in a hospital. It is not made in a doctor's office. It is made at the grocery store, at the dinner table, at the moment when you decide to either surrender to habit or awaken to possibility. And so, the next time you look at your plate, I want you to remember you are not just eating calories. You are not just filling your stomach. You are making a declaration. You are either feeding cancer or starving it. And that choice, my friends, may be one of the most powerful choices of your entire life. When we talk about the body's ability to heal, most people imagine it as something outside of themselves. They wait for the latest drug, the newest therapy, the breakthrough headline that promises hope. But what's often overlooked is that your body already holds the blueprint for healing. From the moment you were born, your biology was not designed for destruction. It was designed for survival, for repair, for resilience. Consider this: every single day, your body performs miracles so subtle that you rarely notice them. A cut on your skin closes, a bruise fades, a bone fracture knits itself back together. Billions of cells are replaced, toxins are neutralized, invaders are destroyed, all without your conscious effort. This is not an occasional event. This is your design. Healing is not the exception, it is the rule. Now, what cancer and many chronic diseases do is not simply invade your body. They interfere with the blueprint. They rewrite the signals. They distort the communication. They exploit the vulnerabilities in your system. But the original blueprint remains. It never leaves, and that is where your greatest power lies, not in inventing healing, but in aligning with what is already there. When you feed your body the right inputs, whether it's nutrients, movement, rest, or even states of thought, you are not forcing healing, you are cooperating with it. You are amplifying the instructions already coded into your DNA, the wisdom written into every cell. And when you provide the wrong inputs, when you consume foods that inflame, when you deprive yourself of rest, when you live in chronic stress, you are not simply making poor choices, you are creating resistance against your own blueprint. You are silencing the very system designed to protect you. Think of it like a symphony. Your body is the orchestra. Each system, your immune system, your circulation, your metabolism, your microbiome is an instrument. The blueprint is the sheet music, always there, waiting to be played. When you align with health, the music is harmonious. Every instrument knows its part. Every system supports the other. But when you misalign, when poor habits dominate, the instruments fall out of tune. The harmony becomes noise. Disease thrives in that chaos. Philosophically, this means we must stop thinking of healing as something we chase outside ourselves. We are not broken machines waiting for a mechanic. We are intelligent organisms waiting for alignment. Alignment means making choices that respect the blueprint rather than resist it. And once you understand this, health stops being mysterious. It becomes predictable. Here's an example. Your immune system has specialized cells whose job is to detect and eliminate abnormal cells, including cancer cells, before they ever become a problem. This is not theory. This happens in your body right now. Cancer cells emerge in everyone every day, but most never become tumors because your blueprint already contains the defense system. The problem arises when the blueprint is ignored, when the orchestra is drowned out by the noise of poor nutrition, toxins, stress, and neglect. But think about the flip side. Imagine what happens when you choose foods that lower inflammation, that improve blood flow, that strengthen immunity. Suddenly the blueprint is amplified, the instructions are clear, the orchestra is tuned. Healing doesn't need to be invented, it simply needs to be expressed. And this is where psychology becomes critical, because so many people sabotage their health, not out of intention, but out of disconnection. They live as if their body is separate from them, as if their choices are isolated events without consequence. They underestimate the cumulative power of what they put on their plate, what they think in their mind, what they allow into their lives. But the truth is that every choice is a vote, either for alignment with the blueprint or against it. This perspective should not create fear. It should create empowerment. Because no matter where you are right now, no matter your history, your age, your diagnosis, the blueprint is still there. It has not abandoned you. It waits for cooperation. And the beauty is, the body doesn't hold grudges. The moment you begin to align, it begins to respond. Healing begins in hours, in days, not just in years. You can feel it in energy, in clarity, in strength. You can witness it in measurable ways, in lab results, in scans, in recovery. The mind also plays a role. Studies show that states of gratitude, calm, and optimism influence the immune system, lowering stress hormones that interfere with healing. So even your thoughts are part of alignment. It's not only what you eat, but how you live, how you think, how you relate to your own body. This is not mystical, it is biological. Your nervous system, your hormones, your cells, all respond to the state you cultivate. So the question is no longer, can I heal? The question is, am I willing to align? Because alignment is not one dramatic decision, it is the small daily choices repeated over time that awaken the blueprint within you. And if you forget everything else, remember this: your body was never designed for disease. It was designed for life. The blueprint is already written inside you. The only choice left is whether you will live in resistance to it or in alignment with it. When you sit down to eat, it feels ordinary. A plate of food, a simple routine, a habit repeated thousands of times throughout your life. But what if I told you that every meal is not just a habit? It is a decision, a crossroads, a silent vote cast in favor of life or in favor of disease. We like to think of meals as neutral, as though food is simply fuel to get us through the day. But food is not neutral. Food is information. It carries instructions that interact with your DNA, your immune system, your blood vessels, even your microbiome. In other words, every bite speaks to your biology, whispering a command: heal or harm, build or break, strengthen or weaken. Cancer and many chronic diseases thrive in environments where inflammation, excess sugar, poor circulation, and weakened immunity dominate. Those conditions are not random. They are built meal by meal, choice by choice. And so when you eat something that feeds inflammation, that overloads your system with sugar, that depletes your microbiome, you are not simply enjoying a flavor, you are creating a fertile ground for disease. You may not feel it in that moment, but beneath the surface, your biology has already responded. Now, here's the empowering part. The opposite is also true. Every time you eat foods rich in natural compounds that lower inflammation, regulate blood sugar, enhance immunity, and starve abnormal cells of fuel, you are literally creating an environment where disease cannot thrive. You are not just satisfying hunger, you are feeding life itself. This is why meals are sacred. They are opportunities. They are daily rituals where you decide which side of the scale you are tipping, toward health or toward illness. And once you see it this way, you can no longer dismiss a meal as casual. It becomes one of the most powerful tools in your hands. But let's pause here, because this is where psychology matters. Most people don't see their meals as decisions. They eat reactively, driven by habit, convenience, or craving. They forget that behind every craving is chemistry, behind every habit is conditioning, and behind every convenience is a hidden cost. When you fail to choose consciously, the choice is still made. You just allow it to be made for you. And disease takes advantage of that passivity. Philosophically, this forces us to confront a deeper question: how much of our life do we live unconsciously? How often do we go through the motions without realizing that every small act is constructing our future? The same way every meal builds the conditions for health or disease, every thought builds the conditions for joy or despair. Every choice builds the environment for freedom or limitation. Meals are not just physical decisions, they are metaphors for how we live our lives. When you begin to understand this, you realize there is no neutral ground. The food you eat either feeds your highest potential or fuels your deepest risks. It is either closing the gap between you and health or widening it. There is no middle path. Now, some people hear this and feel overwhelmed. They think, does that mean one bad meal ruins me? No, because the body is forgiving. The blueprint is resilient. One poor decision does not define you, but repeated neglect does. Consistent alignment, on the other hand, creates compounding strength. Just as disease is built one choice at a time, health is built the same way. And the beautiful thing about the body is that it responds quickly. Change your meals for a week, and your blood sugar stabilizes. Change them for a month, and your inflammation drops. change them for a year, and you transform the trajectory of your health. So let's make this real. Imagine two people. One treats meals as entertainment, as indulgence, as nothing more than a way to pass the time. The other treats meals as sacred moments, opportunities to give their body the tools to thrive. 10 years later, the difference is staggering. One lives with vitality, energy, clarity. The other battles illness, fatigue, and decline. And the difference was not fate. It was not luck. It was decisions. Tiny, repeated, daily decisions that seemed small in the moment, but monumental over time. And this is where philosophy meets biology. You are not just what you eat. You are what you repeatedly choose. Your meals are mirrors of your priorities, reflections of your awareness, declarations of what you value. When you eat with consciousness, you are declaring, I value life, I honor my body, I choose alignment. When you eat unconsciously, you declare the opposite, even if you never say the words out loud. So the question is, what are you declaring with your meals? Are you feeding disease, giving it the fuel it craves? Or are you feeding life, empowering your body to heal, to resist, to flourish? Every meal is not just a plate of food, it is a vote for disease or a vote for life. And the ballots are cast every day. Choose carefully, because your future is being written one meal at a time.